Hi there. Real quick before we jump into the episode. If you enjoy this episode, or any of the other episodes, be sure to give us a follow or subscribe. It would also be great if you shared it with a friend, or better yet, left a review so others can know how awesome it is. Thanks so much. And now, the episode.
Hey there, Press Starters, and welcome to the Press Start Leadership Podcast, the podcast about game-changing leadership, teaching you how to get the most out of your product and development team and become the leader you were meant to be. Leadership coaching and training for the international game industry professional. Now, let me introduce you to your host, the man, the myth, the legend, Christopher Mifsud.
Welcome back, Press Starters, and get ready for another exciting episode of the Press Start Leadership Podcast. On this week's episode of Press Start Leadership Podcast, we'll be discussing putting leadership skills into practice and making meetings work. First up, practice what you preach. Putting leadership skills into practice. My peers say I talk a lot about leadership theory, but my response is always the same. It's not theory. When it's put into practice, it's experience. Every topic in my blog and on the Press Start website, I choose not because I believe it works, but because I know it works. I've put these theories into practice time and time again, and I've seen the results. It's not just theoretical. There's a common conception when it comes to leadership. Too many leaders talk the talk, but don't walk the walk. Unfortunately, it's often true. They may read book after book about leadership, but don't put what they've learned into action. This is common and often stems from something called analysis paralysis, being so overwhelmed by your options that you don't end up making a choice. Too often, leaders spend hour upon hour reading books, listening to podcasts, and going to seminars, but do nothing with the knowledge they've gained. Sitting around talking doesn't work if none of the knowledge is utilized. While I love philosophy, it was the desire to put my knowledge into action and improve myself that drove me to become a leader. One of my all-time favorite quotes is from Gary Vaynerchuk, a famous entrepreneur and author. He plainly states, "Ideas are shit, execution is the game." And I believe he's right. Only by putting things into practice do you get results. You have to apply what you learn, realize you might not get it right the first time, and try again until you get it right. The best leaders are constantly learning and putting what they learned into action. They execute. So I ask you, what is holding you back from executing? Fear? Fear of failure? Fear there won't be a chance to improve? Sure, some things are a blueprint. They work if you follow the steps like a recipe. In other cases, the intricacies of human behavior indicate that we must adjust the recipe for people's tastes. Don't let one failed attempt prevent you from improving your processes. Leadership takes consistency and refinement, just like anything else. If you put in the work to constantly improve, you improve as a leader. And here's a one-up. Take something you learned and put it into practice today. If it works, discuss it with your team. Why did it work? How can it be better? If it didn't work, why? How can it be better? There you go. And that's practice what you preach, putting leadership skills into practice. Now let's discuss meetings that work. 6 tips on getting the most out of your meetings. Some people despise meetings, and rightfully so. A poorly planned meeting wastes both time and money. On the other hand, a well-organized meeting with purpose can be effective and rewarding. How do you separate a good meeting from a bad one? Not surprisingly, most of it comes down to structure. Here are 6 tips on making sure your meeting hits the mark. Number 1, show up early. If you're on time, you're late, especially if you have things to set up. If you're presenting on screen, make sure you are prepared and ready to go. When technology is involved, there is a great likelihood that something goes wrong, so plan for it and don't waste others' time. 2. Have an agenda. Like with anything else, have a plan and communicate. State your purpose and what you hope to achieve, and include this information in an invite before meeting. Nobody enjoys getting a meeting invite with no purpose stated, and people often assume the worst, sabotaging you from the start. Number 3. Stick to the agenda. A plan means nothing unless you follow through, so keep an eye on time during the meeting and make sure it's flowing properly. Create a parking lot for ideas that are unrelated to your meeting's objective, and set up separate meetings to tackle them. 1-up. If you have a whiteboard to write parking lot items on, it helps people know their ideas are being taken seriously, and they are more likely to stay engaged. 4. Respect people's time. Respecting other people's time means they're more likely to respect yours, so schedule meetings for a reasonable length. I like to aim for 1 hour, and definitely not more than 2. Schedule a 5-minute break for any meeting over 1 hour. Most importantly, if you don't need to use the entire length of time, don't. People's time is precious. Let them go if you don't need them. 5. Use the 2 pizza rule. Too many people in a meeting can be a distraction, so use the 2 pizza rule. Don't invite more people than it takes to eat 2 pizzas. If you're like me and enjoy pizza, that number is 8. Invite only the people who are needed in the meeting. You can send the invite as optional to keep folks in the loop, but if you're unsure if they need to be there, leave them out and send a good set of meeting notes. Don't waste their time. 6. Create clear takeaways. Take good meeting notes. Better yet, have someone else take them so you can focus on running the meeting. Even better, have a pre-prep takeaway that you can hand out at the meeting or email out afterward. At the end of the meeting, recap what you've learned and create an action item list so folks know what to follow up on. So let's recap. To run a great meeting, show up early, have an agenda, stick to the agenda, respect people's time, use the 2 pizza rule, and create clear takeaways. See what I did there? Take action. What's one thing from this list that you can adopt to make your next meeting more awesome? See what else I did there? If you'd like to work with me, one-on-one, hire me as a coach, and we can split the 2 pizzas. All right, folks. That's this week's episode of Press Start Leadership Podcast. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to give us a follow. Thanks. If you haven't downloaded my free ebook, 5 Heroic Leadership Skills, click on the link in the description. Tune in next week for your next episode of Press Start Leadership Podcast. Thank you. Oh, hi there. The episode's over, but thanks for sticking around till the end. If you're on the quest to elevate your team's leadership, production, or game design capabilities, I'm here to assist. Leveraging extensive experience and a strategic approach, I offer personalized audits, bespoke workshops, and leadership retreat facilitation to drive your team toward excellence. My commitment is to provide efficient, reliable, and proven support, ensuring you have the tools and insights needed to thrive. Ready to unlock your team's full potential and achieve unparalleled success? Don't hesitate to press start on your journey to transformation today. Feel free to reach out directly to discuss how we can tailor a solution to meet your unique needs and goals. Let's connect and take your team's performance to the next level.